What's up, everyone? It's Cristian Portilla. I'm here with Ross Lebrie. This is Meet Them Mondays. Remember to tune into joeradio.org. We're going to go live now if you want to hear the audio. If you want to just watch us here in the studio, feel free to do so. This is the 3 Points edition.
And we happen to find ourselves live during this full of activity. There's things going on.
You got good audio?
It's mainly on just this side, but
You can use that other one if you want. The other headphones on your, next to you, they all work.
Can you hear?
Love sets it all free.
Yeah. If I go like this, it means get closer to the mic.
That's the only answer. From the soul, y'all.
World, welcome to Meet Them Mondays, a show about community, culture, and lifestyle in Miami. I'm your host, Cristian Portilla. Before we get started, I want to share with you a couple of stories I published recently. The Roots Collective opened up the Roots Collective Black House in Liberty City. The founder is Danny Agnew, and it's going to be sort of like a community space, a marketing store, and also an area where they're going to have events in the back. It's a really cool story. You can read it on roomforyourrates.com. I'm also working on a piece about Get Takeout. It's a Latinx woman and her Swedish girlfriend. They're based here in Miami and they have an experienced delivery service. Basically, you can check them out at Get Takeout. And they're pioneering the immersive art market here in Miami. They've hosted an event called Basil Braille last year where they had an exhibit with like blind performance artists, and next week they're actually putting on another event called The Coronation, and that project aims to highlight the inner king or queen and how we're always calling ourselves royalty. And speaking of Basel, you can check out my Basel guide on roomforyourrates.com, and I'm actually really happy to be here with you guys because this weekend I was in Philly and I busted my ass down these stairs and I'm all types of fucked up right now. But I knew that I had to make it into the studio because Meet Them Mondays is Bay. So we're here right now. Today, my guests are David Sinopoli and Ross Lebrie of 3 Points. 3 Points is an art, technology, and music festival of the alternative mind. This year will mark its 6th edition, or 7th year, and it'll go down on February 15th to the 17th in Miami with headliner SZA, Tyler the Creator, A$AP Rocky, Erykah Badu, James Blake, and so many more. We actually have David on the phone right now, and he's actually taking a call. He's with his family, but we appreciate his time. David, are you there?
Hey, how you doing?
What's up, David? How's it going?
How's it going?
How's that drive?
It was, it's all good.
And I also have Ross here with me. What's up, Ross?
What up?
So, David, I know you only have a couple of minutes for me, but Erykah, you got Miss Badu to come through?
Yeah,
How did that happen?
That was tough. That was probably the hardest confirmation we got this year. She's very picky, and she
Are you
doesn't
smoking right
perform a
now?
lot. So we had to kind of make her an offer she couldn't refuse. And for us, you know, with what's going on in society right now and what's going on in festival culture, to have the two strong women of color as our headliners was a really important thing. So for all the legendary aspects and all the beautiful positive energy that she pushes forward, and SZA for all the younger women out there that really love her, and younger men, everyone that loves her. But we felt it was really important to have a festival lineup that had female headliners in general. So we definitely stretched our budget for both for SZA and Badu to make that happen because it wasn't easy for either of them.
Damn, that's awesome. I feel like I smell the fire all the way over here. You're definitely sending those vibes our way. And so let's talk about programming because I know that's something that you focus on a lot. How is it that you guys curate the selection of artists, and with so many like great sounds coming out throughout the year, how did you guys at least curate the lineup for this year, for example?
A lot of that is difficult. You know, I think 3 points can be looked at as, you know, a indication on what we feel like is important and is fun and is cutting edge and has quality in that given year. Music is changing and moving very quickly, and you know, with the resources we have in the internet and how people are consuming music right now, we have to keep up with the times, with the demographics, but we have to keep it real. And I think that is a real challenge for us because, you know, Ross could probably tell you that he sees me many times struggling with booking something that I know sells a bunch of tickets, but I know it's not quality music, and we have to, or in our opinion, it's not quality music. You know, it's very subjective, but it might be too commercial, or it might be too EDM, or whatever it might be. We have to always keep a threshold of quality, and that's pretty fucking hard because the quality stuff doesn't usually always sell the best.
Right. And well, speaking of like the struggles and stuff like that, what would you say is maybe one of the biggest misconceptions about the Miami music scene since you started working in it?
Is that we're dumb?
That we're dumb,
what the
like
rest of the
music
world
consumers?
thinks. They think that we don't know how to buy tickets and engage to things that are very like cutting edge. They think that we like reggaeton, EDM, and hip hop, and that's all they think we like. And even hip hop is a new thing. Like Rolling Loud has pretty much put cursor on Miami that we are, you know, a hip hop ticket heavy place. But if you look at the data for Miami, you know, we haven't still not yet had Tamapala down here. We still not had Bjork come play live here. We struggle to get a lot of shows in this market because people don't think it's the hard ticket market you can do for alternative music, and they think that all it is like the Vegas by the Sea that just showed that they could start having, you know, urban Latin concerts happening at big numbers, and Rolling Loud showed that they can do hip hop at big numbers. And I think that's bullshit. I think it's more though that we haven't had people that are programming this music consistently and grow the actual scene, grow the culture, grow the fan base, and that takes time.
Absolutely. And you know, I hear you talking about like how saying that we're dumb, or even like that we always complain a lot, and I hear it a lot amongst my friends as well, that a lot of artists don't stop here in Miami, or a lot of people don't come south enough to come and play for us. Is there an artist that is still like goals to you that you would love to have headline at the festival, or that you've been strongly working toward getting them, but it hasn't worked out?
Yeah, we have 100%. There's I have a mental and a physical target list that I've had for years, and with those types of artists, it has to do a lot with their timing of their schedule.
Okay.
Because they're at that level, and I think a lot of those artists will come to us, but we're gonna have to wait.
But like,
Gorillas
can you give me
was
some
something I
names?
worked on for 7 years, and Gorillas happened when they were ready for it to happen, and I was in their ear, you know, every single year, so they knew when Miami was presented that they would go down the rabbit hole with me to see if they could do it around their new release. And sometimes you have to, you know, plant the seed and then be patient and wait for the artist and the management and the agent to come around to you and be like, okay, they're ready to tour, you know, how much money can you give them?
Right. But Gorillas came, so can you like name drop or give me some other artists that you still want?
I can. I just don't want to give any indication that I'm going to try to book to my competitors. I don't know how wide this goes, but let's just say that there is. I mean, I don't care actually. I think it's an obvious one. I think Tamapala needs to come to Miami, and Tamapala needs to come to Miami, and needed to come to Miami 6 years ago, and then they needed to come 3 years ago, and they needed to come last year. Every time they drop an album, they should have came and played in our city, and I'm not going to stop until they play in Miami. So, and their manager knows that, their agent knows that. Kevin DJ'd here last year. He saw how many people knew his music. I think he took acid at the festival. I think he had the most amazing time possible. I think he knows he's got to come play 3 points. I think they just got to get a new album done. And when they get a new album done, we're gonna do everything we can to get them down here.
Damn, that's what's up. Positive affirmations, putting them out there.
Absolutely.
And you know what? You know who I would like to see come down? Anderson .Paak.
Yeah, he's about to blow.
Yo,
That thing's about.
I'm giving you a heads up now. If I can just, sort of request that, that would be a dream.
We tried this year. His price is so high, and they're kind of they're projecting out how big he's going to be after this Dre album drops.
Mm-hmm.
So they are almost. I think he's probably going to play Coachella, right?
Yeah.
I think he's going to have a big album, and I think in January he's going to come out in Coachella at a really high billing. I think he's going to play the whole festival, like the North American major festival scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we could look at that for Q4 or maybe an arena for depending on how large this impact of this album goes.
Yeah, and I guess sort of coming up on your time, what is the music scene in Miami lack still? As someone who's seen it grow and who has helped it grow, what can we get better at?
Buying tickets.
Okay.
Not expecting that everything that you can get on a list for things. I think Miami is a really hard place to do what we do because it's kind of like everything happens at the last minute, So as festival promoters and show promoters, it's really difficult to wait on tickets to turn. And it is really scary sometimes to look at the numbers and be like, shit, we gotta sell X amount of tickets and not lose a fortune. And it usually comes through. Money comes through in the end. But I think that's, for the customer standpoint, the more you can support shows from independent promoters that are based out of Miami, the better you're helping the scene, because it allows us to buy more shows and to be able to use that money to continue to grow it. Style-wise, like music style-wise,
mm-hmm.
I think we need more live bands. We need more rock and roll bands, psych rock bands to be able to come through here. I think we're missing out on a lot of these like left field bands that might take, 4 or 5 pieces, 3 pieces with a tour manager and a lighting person, or just a couple support people. That's a very expensive trip to take all the way to the tip of Florida and then all the way back out of the tip of Florida in a van, and flying them in is very prohibitive. So I think as long as we can support ticket sales, like as a community, we can just have strong ticket sales to a lot of shows. The ability to take the risk on the 7-piece band to fly them in to do a show will be a lot easier for us to do.
And you know what though? I will say this, going back to a comment that you had made a little while back, like one thing about the scene here, and you were saying that like we only like reggaeton or we only like EDM, right? But like we do like reggaeton and we consume it a lot. But I don't see 3 Points as a festival that like particularly highlights a lot of Latino artists, even though there's a big Latino crowd here. Is that on purpose or not? Like, would we ever see a Bad Bunny come to a 3 Points?
It's a really great question. I definitely flirted with the idea of putting Bad Bunny on the bill this year. It's just the thing with Bad Bunny is he's so big now. The number that he needed to be part of the festival would have been really large, and it would be a little bit of a departure for old styling.
Yeah.
I don't think we were ready for it this year, but no, we're not against it. We don't curate based off of like culture. We're not trying to culture appropriate Latin people to 3 Points. We are trying to program amazing music from all around the world, and if it just so happens that it hits the close to the equator in South America or Puerto Rico or Cuba or wherever we have large demographics, it's awesome. And we're happy about it, but we don't hunt out like a band from Peru or a band from Venezuela or from Colombia, and maybe we should a little bit more. I'm not saying we're against it, but we haven't done that in the past.
Yeah, I haven't, I saw Helado Negro, and there's a few others that are in there that are Latinos by they just happen to be Latinos, but they're not really Spanish artists. So It would be great to have a Bad Bunny or a Cardi or even one of those. I know that's already very far out there, but I think also the Latino crowd here would appreciate something like that out of 3 Points, which is totally unexpected at this point.
I think so, and I think Medellin and Puerto Rico are a couple of really hot spots for music in general right now, and the more creative stuff is coming out of there. So I think it's a matter of us staying true to who we are, right? That we're not just programming because they're from Puerto Rico, they're from Colombia, but programming because it's amazing music, and we feel like it's on the cutting edge of music,
Yeah.
That it's dictating a new sound or a new genre, a new culture around it. And I think there is artists that are both that, and it's happening more. I mean, the condensed amount of music that's coming out of Medellin right now is incredible.
That's the hometown right there. That's the motherland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And me and Ross were actually just there 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah?
3 weeks ago.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah.
They're selling tickets at a rapid pace over there. Like, they had a Clapton show. Sven Bopp was there last night. They are absorbed, like, consuming music at a high level over there right now. That scene is rapidly changing.
Yeah, Los Paisas, we know what we're doing out there.
Worth mentioning that we were down there because David was booked to play down there.
What?
So, yeah,
Okay,
David was representing Miami down in Medellin.
Damn, that's what's up.
Thanks for the cosign, Ross. I love when Ross comes in.
The shameless plug.
It's gonna blow you up. You know, I don't have too many opportunities.
They're really cool down there. They're really hospitable, and it's really fun to go down there and play music. It's the energy and the crowd that's in front of you. They super into it.
That's awesome. And David, anything you want to let the listeners know, maybe what they can expect of 3 Points, why they should go out, why they should support you and the team in buying tickets and going. I know some people say like the price is maybe a little too high, but it's a great lineup. So how do you defend that, and why would you say people should come out?
I think that that pricing thing is something which we hear loud and clear, and I think everyone's going to be happy when we drop day passes, because I think the pricing of the day passes are going to be very appropriate. And I think once that happens, we just need people to support. You know, put the layaway plan down, buy a day pass, just come and put something to us, because, you know, we are not Lollapalooza. We're not Rolling Loud. We're not like Ultra. We're not anything. We're a startup company out of Miami for Miami that's trying to grow exponentially with the scene and trying to continue to push forward. But we do need support in any financial way to buy tickets, to come out and support our festival, because it's literally you're buying from your backyard. And we'll promise this, that we're not looking to make profit and tons of money off of this right now. We're looking to grow this thing and make it so that, you know, this thing gets bigger and helps with the scene and helps the local musicians that play it, get a larger audience so that we can serve Miami more of what it needs and what maybe the scene is void of. But we do need the support of our scene, and we don't need people to come out of the woodwork and be like, yo, I know this guy, that guy, and I need a free ticket, and then end up not coming to our festival.
Right.
We would really, really appreciate if they can come and support and know that it's going into a local initiative that's going to stay here.
That's awesome. David, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. I hope you enjoy your family time.
I appreciate you guys making it easy for me to jump on here, and good luck with the rest of the interview.
Thank you so much. Oh, really quick, before I let you go, I was telling Ross this before the show. I haven't, been able to meet you in person. Hopefully the day will come that I do. But I was telling him that back when I was a baby journalist, and I started writing music, like I was a music writer, and I started covering shows and I was blogging, I was, going to Bordeaux, and I was covering these artists that would come. And I remember reaching out to you via email about being able to come to Bordeaux, and you were so quick with a yes for me to come. And our exchanges were always through email, but you really did give me the opportunity to really flex that writing muscle in terms of of music, and also like putting out their content and highlighting these artists and interviewing them. I even, one of the last one of my favorite interviews was with Sango, who came down, and Gold Panda as well when you brought him down. So that was really dope. So I'm really glad and grateful that we were able to work together, and that you let this back in the day baby journalist come through.
Oh, no doubt. And that's awesome. That's really awesome to hear, because that's, like I said, it's something that the scene grows with people writing about music, purchasing music, becoming a manager of a band they love, supporting the bands they love, getting that out, and everyone in the industry kind of needs to look out for each other for that growth pattern. So I'm glad that I was able to help. That's cool that I didn't. I was hoping that when you said that you emailed you, I was like, shit, did that go to spam? Did I answer? So I'm glad.
No,
that,
you always
that
answered. You always came through for me, so thank you for that.
Oh, that's awesome.
The baby journalist in me appreciates you.
I appreciate that. That's really, really nice of you.
All right. Well, take care. Have a great night. Enjoy your family.
All right, guys.
All right.
Peace out.
Bye. Awesome. Yay. Are we good, Ross? We're good here?
Yeah.
You can go ahead and take that back. Awesome. Okay. Yay. I'm so excited we were able to get in touch with him. That's so cool. So, Ross, let's talk about you. We just heard from David. Let's talk about your role. You're also a partner, and you're from Boston. You have your background in audio engineering, and so how are you involved with 3 Points, and where does your role really come in day to day?
Yeah, so like you said, I'm from Boston. Came down here to go to school at UM. Knew nothing about Miami, nothing about the culture here, and really didn't until I was actually out of school, because UM is kind of its own little
World.
bubble when you're there.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I did music engineering technology. That's what I studied when I was there. Kind of was looking to get into the recording studio world and, you know, record music, produce music. Just kind of that scene inspired me. And as I learned more about it, I actually graduated school and started interning at a recording studio. Did a bunch of stuff like with Rick Ross really early on. Like, I'm kind of dating myself. I'm older than I look probably. But I was doing that for a little while. Also did some stuff with like TV, like post-production, like overdub work, which is kind of wild, like doing English overdubs of like TV novela for like distribution in South Africa.
What?
Like really, really strange, but that was part of my introduction into the Miami world. So, but basically what I realized is that, you know, sitting in a room for 8 hours listening to the same vocal take over and over and over again is not for me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have the attention span for that. I like the, you know, the spontaneity of live music, the risk that's there. You kind of have one shot to do it right.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just slowly transitioned out of that into the live music world, working as like a live sound engineer.
But like the team really came together, like the 3 Points team, Ross, you, Erica, and then David, who we just heard from at Bardot. No?
Right.
That's like where you guys really came together. And
Exactly. So basically I was working, you know, doing a bunch of freelance work as a sound engineer locally, out like a couple years after UM. I was also working at the Adrian R Center, running their Black Box Theater.
Okay.
And so through a band that I was working with, I ended up working at Bardot. Did a show there, kind of, you know, made friends with the guy who was at the time doing the programming and all the production.
Okay.
And so he asked me to like come on board with the team at Bardot very, very early on. And so I ended up working there like a day or two a week, covering for him more or less at the beginning. And then the ownership ended up actually letting that guy go about 6 months into the project.
Damn,
and,
you see what you did?
I know. Shit. No, it wasn't my fault. And so basically, you know, Erica Freshman, who is, you know, our partner in 3 Points and one of the main figures now, she was a partner in Bardot at the time. Amir was the primary partner at Bardot. And basically, Erica knew David. They had an outstanding relationship working on different things in the nightclub world. He was up in Gainesville, basically being Van Wilder of UF for his time up there. And she convinced him to come down and take over the programming side of things at Bardot. And I got brought in to take over all the production. So basically, we kind of came up together there, started doing shows that we had no business doing in that little ass room with no stage.
The carpet.
The carpet. That's legendary.
That was a magical carpet, bro.
That legendary, disgusting carpet. Yeah. So, yeah, David, you know, was able to start booking acts and convince artists to come down and play at our little spot that really they had no business playing at. And, you know, we did some really, really amazing shows those first couple of years that kind of, you know, grew the reputation of, you know, Miami and Bardot, and then also, you know, David as a booker, and like on the production side of things, it was cool. We got to do a lot of really, really cool things. And so probably a year or two into Bardot, David sort of had this idea to conceptualize a festival format, sort of showcase, you know, more of the local artists in a different way, and have the ability to bring some national talent in a way that was not typical to Miami at that time. It was really like Ultra was the big festival, and besides that, there's really nothing that format going on. So the first year was kind of like an experiment, and it was a little more of like a South by Southwest kind of style, where we activated a bunch of venues locally. I remember like taking speakers like all over the place that week, people's random apartments, like up the third floor loft,
AKA
to do an after party, doing like a boiler room at 4 a.m. in like somebody's random loft, and then them getting evicted the next day. And you know, it was really just kind of a crazy trial. And you know, David, Erica, and Amir were technically the founders of it, and I helped kind of produce the production technical side of it the first year, and then technically I partnered up with them year 2, and kind of took it from there.
What do you think the magic is in starting like with something small and like really learning from your mistakes and fuck ups and things like that, and then taking it to like something bigger? Like, do you think that starting off small prepared you guys for what was to come, or is it like completely different levels from something small to something big?
I mean, definitely every year is a huge growth from the year before. We learn so much every time we do it, and you know, there's always going to be so many different things about the next year, but you definitely can take what you've learned and grow upon it, you know, take from that and, you know, do something better the next year based off of what you learned, you know, different approach to something. You know, there's a lot of things you learn as business people as well, like financially, what the ramifications are for things, like how much, you know, support you're gonna get when you go different routes, like what the angles need to be, what you can do from an art standpoint. It's just, you really learn a lot. And like David said, we're, you know, just a self-funded startup, so we never really had the money to like get, you know, crazy acts from the get-go. We were always super DIY, like coming up with our projects that we could do ourselves. Like, you know, we've had a lot of amazing people that have helped us along the way and contributed a lot for very little like monetary gain, just to help the project and to help, you know, grow and get some exposure along the way. And so we're really, really grateful for those people. And yeah, I mean, you learn a lot every year, but there's also going to be, there's curveballs every year that you don't expect. I mean, we chose October the first year, which you know, seemed like a good idea at the time. And then couple hurricanes later, you know, looking back, it proved to be a very, very difficult time to produce a festival. So, you know, also we had that crazy Zika thing a couple years ago, which was, you know, right in the middle of our sales cycle. And that same year was Hurricane Matthew that landed on the exact day that our festival was opening, and you know, LCD sound systems, flights got canceled, and you know, that year was really like a trying time for us, where we kind of had to like dig deep and be like, well, you know, all the numbers and all like the logic says we need to cancel. Like, we like, if we do this, like there's gonna be so many ramifications like as a business for us doing this. But at that time, we were so close to the date, and you know, it looked like that hurricane was, you know, at the end it looked like it was gonna miss us. It was gonna veer north, and it was actually gonna be nice weather for most of the weekend. And we were like, you know what, we gotta do this thing no matter what. And so the city, you know, basically didn't let us build anything. We usually start a week to a week and a half out from the festival, setting everything up, building the stages, whatever. So that week, we didn't get clearance from the city until 6 a.m. on Friday morning to start building.
The first festival day.
This was, in 2016. So basically, we have from 6 a.m. until doors at 5 p.m. to build an entire festival. And it was
all hands on deck.
Definitely the craziest day of my life, for sure. And I mean, I think we got doors open around like 6:30, so we didn't necessarily get there right at 5, but we got open and we did it, and we did our best with that year. We presented a lot of really, really cool things. That year we had I know you mentioned like there hasn't been a lot of Latino artists on the bill, you know, and that's like you said, not for any other reason than it just needs to make sense with what we do and, you know, our vibe and what we wanna put on, and, you know, what we think is relevant and cutting edge. And that year we have Bomba Stereo, which, you know, probably for us was like the most amazing relevant act that was really a 3 Points act. And whether they were, you know, singing in Spanish or from Colombia or from Canada or whatever, the music could be for whatever, and it was, you know, representative of what we do and what we thought was amazing. And so that year we were able to definitely showcase a cool Latin act.
But you know what, I will say this, it would be nice, right? But you guys also got to do what's right for the brand and what aligns. That doesn't mean you won't put on Latino artists, which you have. Caliucci, another Colombiana, was there. She had like strep throat or something, but she still went on stage, so that was really cool. But I do think it's also it is nice that you guys are also mindful of how you're choosing which artists, because obviously the Latino género or genre right now is really exploding, but you guys aren't gonna start booking a bunch of Latino artists because you know that it's like ticket sales are gonna soar and people are gonna come. Like I think it's also true to staying true to like your essence, right, and what's right and what makes sense for you guys. So I think that's also like a good thing, you know.
Yeah, we have to. And one artist that's like worth mentioning, who's Chilean, but he is like probably the most representative of 3 Points from an artistic standpoint, and he's probably maybe our favorite artist collectively that we've ever booked. That's why we've booked him probably the majority of the years we've done 3 Points, is Nicholas Jar.
Oh yeah, Nicholas Jar.
And Nicholas Jar really just kind of like personifies like the future of electronic music, like a true creative that blends every style of music into what he's doing. He doesn't abide by any sort of rules, guidelines. You know, he really kind of embodies a lot of the fundamental things that we try to embrace as a festival as well. And like, you know, we literally try to bring him back every year. Like if we could have Nico every year, we would. Yeah. We really would. He's just one of those artists, and he's a Chilean guy. So I mean, that music is out there, and I think it's starting to grow, and I think you'll see just the natural growth of that facet of the demographic in our lineup as we move forward. You know, the kind of heyday of reggaeton and Latin trap music, I don't think it's gonna be super long lived, like at the height that it is now. Yeah. I think it'll be popular for a long time, but I think we're really going through a phase right now where even like English trap music and hip hop, like the mumble rap that's out there, and like the reggaeton and now the Latin trap that's out there is just so pervasive and prolific, and it's just everywhere. And I don't really see that keeping up for a long time.
Well, the chonga in me really wants you to be wrong, but given the historical parts of like how history has played out with that music, I can kind of see why you would take that, because when I was around like 14, 15, 16, I was like leaving jean stains on the wall with that music. Like it was really good. Yeah. And I
mean, don't get me wrong, like original reggaeton.
What?
Like, Tego Calderon,
Pa' que retosen, a classic.
Daddy Yankee, Gasolina, that OG Queen stuff. Yeah. I mean, that was cutting edge. That was like real shit. They were, you know, those lyrics were nasty.
Of course they were.
But, you know, they were really speaking at that time to what was going on in the culture, and like, you know, it was a cutting edge thing.
But then when I was like 19, 18, you know, 21, I was at like Vagabond listening to all that type of music, and I stopped listening to reggaeton completely because it kind of like fell off. Yeah. So now my inner chonga gets to come on and listen to this new type of music, so it's a beautiful thing. So I really hope that you're wrong and we could ride the wave a little bit.
I think there's a happy medium there too. Like there are, like David said, we've been watching Bad Bunny for like 4 years, and we've gone out there and we've made efforts in the past. Yeah. Just hasn't necessarily worked out, but like he was cutting edge. He's cutting edge in style. He's cutting edge with his sound, with what he's doing. He's definitely an artist that we would put on because he is really a trendsetter in what he's doing, and he's just he's a huge figure right now.
Yeah, and, he's another one I would love to see.
He's a tough one. We did put him on last year in kind of a weird format, but after the festival was over last year, on the Monday we did a relief concert for the Caribbean hurricane relief.
Yeah.
With Diplo
Mm-hmm.
and with Bad Bunny.
Okay.
And so we did that. We did a show with him. It wasn't technically a
Nice.
3-point show, but
Yeah.
we put him on and tried to raise some money for the Caribbean.
So we're talking about like major artists right now, but one thing I also noticed of like the 3-point sauce is that you guys also are
Sauce,
known.
I like that. Sauce.
You guys are also known for giving locals a seat at the table, right?
Mhm.
So why is it important to 3-points culture to put on for the local talent that's here and kind of giving them that platform to show off, right?
I mean, it's critical. That's what we started with. That's what our fundamental belief was from the get-go, is that there needs to be a platform for locals, as well as a platform that allows for us to bring larger talent to the scene to kind of showcase it. It's a two-way thing where you want to be able to allow the local artists to really present themselves and to like show off on a bigger stage that wouldn't have an opportunity to do so otherwise, and bring in talent to play alongside of them that you wouldn't necessarily have an opportunity to see if that format kind of wasn't put together. So yeah, I mean, we always have like at least half of our stages that are primarily local artists. We do two artists that are more kind of like DJ format. We have local kind of like labels that sort of take them over on a nightly basis. We've done like the Electric Pickles had a stage, where they take over a night, and we definitely try to put on as many local artists as we really can. And it's a fine line, because you only have so many slots and so many stages available, so you have to find the happy medium of bringing in new stuff and stuff from out of town that people want to see, and allowing like the best local artists coming up to present what they're doing and kind of show really what's going on in Miami in our world, which is like a little bit left field, a little bit alternative. It's not like the stereotypical Miami that people think of Miami. We try to show off that different side of Miami. That's always been our goal.
Right. I'm lucky because I have both of those sides.
Yeah.
I have my chachi side, but I also have like my indie side, and I've been able to really like come to love our music scene because of that, and been able to enjoy both sides of that. And so like, what are some of the magic that you've seen happen for some of these local artists when you do give them that space to rub shoulders with bigger acts? Like, have you heard of collaborations, or have you heard of like more gigs happening, or like what has come? And maybe not even with artists and musically, maybe some collaborations, but even just in general, like, do they stick around? Do they give each other advice? Do they travel other places to like perform? Like, what kind of relationships do these artists build among each other?
There's definitely like that kind of backstage world that's created where local artists have an opportunity to kind of rub shoulders with some national acts, and we've definitely seen people form relationships. I think Denzel Curry is a big one that like he's really taken off. That's a local kid that has been doing his thing in a really original way from years back. And
his Breakfast Club interview was amazing.
He's super smart. He's real intellectual. He's super real, and like he's somebody we've really enjoyed putting on, and he's really taken off. He's probably the best example, I think, of a local artist that we tried to showcase at 3-points that's really taken off. Austin Paul is another amazing artist he's almost so talented that he can do everything, and he's still trying to kind of figure out exactly what project works best for him. But he's collabed with a bunch of artists like remotely now, where he was working with a band in Germany, where he's basically doing vocals for them, and he's done a bunch of stuff with collaboration. So that definitely happens for sure, and it's really, really cool to see. And we also do a project, I don't know exactly what it's going to be called this year, but in the past version of it was called Swerving Serpents.
Okay.
And it's basically a 3-points curated record where we hand pick artists, combination of local artists and national artists that are willing to do it, and we team them up together and we put them in the studio, or we figure out a way for them to work remotely.
Damn, that's
and
dope.
They come up with a song together, and we put out that record. So I think Swerving Serpents had like 6 or 7 tunes on it. this year we have a really, really amazing project in the works that's going to start recording soon.
Cool.
And that's pairing local artists with national artists, like the epitome of what you're talking about.
Can you maybe say like which local artists might work with the video?
No, I would let David speak on that. He's more connected to that world and that project than I am. I'm more kind of the technical design guy, not as much the
Alright,
programming
it's okay
stuff.
if you don't want to share that
I'm like,
exclusive
yeah, no,
on Meet Them Mondays.
I'm gonna wait till that can be put out there the right way.
No, I get it. What do you think like of partnerships? So how can people partner with you guys? Are you guys hard to reach? Like, if there's artists that do want to get on your radar, like if they do want you guys to hear their music, how can, if I'm like a local artist, how can I get spotted or like discovered or by the 3Points team, especially that you guys have so much pull now in like the music industry to really help some of these local people launch their careers?
Yeah, I mean we're not hard to get at.
Okay.
You know, you can find us. We're pretty easy on all like the social media stuff, which is
Nah, don't tell me that because
not
you
my-
don't have a lot of stocking
as-
material social media.
personally, but you know, as 3Points we are accessible. Instagram, Facebook, you know, whatever. We're, you know, iiiPoints. You can find us. Our website is easy, and then also, you know, people email us info@3points.com. We get a lot of people that reach out, and then we do. You know, we've done this for a couple years. This year, I think we did it in a really, really nice way. We kind of have the luxury now with David's involvement with Club Space and kind of what we did with the downstairs of Club Space, turning it into more of a lounge that can feature live music and Floyd, and then like a real true 500-600 person live music venue at the ground next door. We've had the opportunity to kind of put on a lot of artists that have been coming up in the scene and kind of want to get on the radar. So this year we did a 3-part event that was kind of like a battle of the bands to get spots at 3Points. So that was at Floyd, and that just ended. I think the last one was last month, but we did that for 3 weeks, and I think we had easily over 50 acts that reached out to us, that came out. It was a combination of producers and bands,
Okay.
and basically we had the 3Points team there, and it was kind of like a showcase of local artists that wanted to get on the bill with like the couple spots that we had available. And there's definitely a handful of artists that came out of that project that are on 3Points, so that's kind of
Damn, that's
exactly
awesome.
what
About how
what
many
you're talking
artists
about.
would you say were you guys were able to pick from now?
I don't know exactly, but I think it's at least 3 or 4.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's at least 3 or 4. There was, you know, and it's a variety of like more producer DJ style,
Mhm.
and then also like full blown bands.
Yeah.
The bands are a little tougher because the slots are. It's a little more difficult to produce that with a more like a producer DJ setup. You can kind of squeeze that in, and we're able to go later with those stages. So we have more slots.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's at least 4 or 5 artists from that project that got put on that we didn't even know about beforehand. So super,
Wow,
super
and
cool.
local.
Yeah, and local. There's a lot of really, really cool stuff happening in Miami, and it's, you know, it's still a very, very young scene, growing scene, and especially in the kind of indie off center left world that we live in. You know, it's really cool to see those artists emerging and coming up, and you know, it's happening. It's definitely happening.
Yeah, you know, one thing that I love about the scene here, and I think this goes across just like as being like creatives and stuff like that, I find that the good thing about our city is that because not a lot of things are made here, you have a lot of like space to roam around as a creative and create things, or if you have ideas, to bring those ideas to like manifestation, because if you can dream it, this is definitely a place where you can do it, as opposed to maybe a bigger city where a lot of it's being done. Granted, there's a lot of creatives here and a lot of things that are done here artistically, musically, in whatever field you want, but I still think that there's a lot of room for people to bring their creativity forward, because there's not so much of, I mean, there is a lot of it, but it's not saturated to the point where it would be in another city. And that's one thing that I really like about Miami. And I also think that as a creative, you do have sort of a way of shaping your own brand or shaping those ideas, because you can kind of tell like the city, or you can tell Miami what it is that you want to put forward or what you want to highlight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. You're right on there, and I mean it's really true about what you're saying. There being opportunity in the city that's not present in a lot of other major cities,
Yeah.
and you know people so often say Miami in the same breath that they say New York, Chicago, L.A.,
Yeah.
Austin, and it's really an unfair comparison. Not
Yeah.
that Miami isn't great, and it's not. It's obviously a major city, and it's a major hub that connects the Latin world with the United States.
But we're babies
But
sometimes.
this is a baby city. Like the
Yeah.
history here only really goes back as like a major city to the mid 20th century.
Yeah.
And if you look at these other major cities that have 200-300 years under the belt to really like form communities and to like get projects together and to really like get that community vibe, it's not even close to being comparable. You really have two generations of people here, and all sorts of different people coming
Yeah.
from different crazy backgrounds. The way that people immigrated
We're
here
a transient
is
city.
super unique as well. So, you know, Miami's just at its beginning stage of coming together as a real community city. You know, there's a lot of people here, but it hasn't really had the time to grow, to kind of come together where everybody's really on the same page and really supporting things collectively. You still have people that are kind of defensive because of whatever situation they came from from another country, or
Yeah.
you know, whatever their situation was, and it just takes time. It just takes time with that stuff. And I think all things considered, with how young this city is, and you know the way that people kind of came here and moved here and immigrated here and coming together, it's really amazing to see the progress that it's made so quickly. And you know, there is a lot of opportunity because it's so young, but it's moving quickly. It's really moving quickly. I don't think 3 Points would have been able to start the way it started in maybe any other city in the U.S. because there was just a void in the market, and it was kind of just calling for somebody to do something different, to put on these different type of artists and to bring this different type of music to the scene. And you know, you look at any of those other major cities, there's 4, 5, 6 different festivals that are working in the world that we're working in, with 50 different venues that do this type of music. Here there was like, you know, when we started Bardo, it was like Bardo Transit Lounge, like Vagabond doing some things, like, and then you obviously had like the Fillmore at PS14 at the time. Very few you could name them on one hand. The places you could go see live music, like you can't say that about any other major city. The stage, yeah, the stage was dope. And the
Grand Central.
Exactly. So, you know, there was only so many of those here, and so you see that growing now. It's still tough. It's still really hard to maintain those type of venues, but you know, we're trying to do what we can to support that.
So, AKA, we're fucking awesome.
We are. This city is awesome, and it's becoming more awesome every day.
Yeah.
And you can see it. You can see it with the growth, and you know, it's tough because there's always kind of the give and take with the growth of a city, you know, where you see really amazing areas that are beautiful, kind of like catalysts for artistic movements, like WYNWOOD, where a lot of artists used to have their studios there, and it used to really be this like mecca of super original artwork and thinking, and now it's kind of like a flea market circus on the weekends, and there's a whole bunch of national brands in these stores. And granted, there still is some cool art that happens there, but for the most part, all the local artists that were there can't afford to be there anymore.
Right.
And that's just kind of a unfortunate fact about gentrification, kind of what happens, growing pains of a city. So, you know, we try to be cognizant of those things, and, you know, we're based in Wynwood, so we're trying to, you know, keep some of what Wynwood was about.
Yeah.
You know, kind of keep that
That
truth
OG
to the
essence.
beginning of Wynwood, in Wynwood. And, you know, when we do projects in other areas, we try to stay true to, you know, being responsible about what we're doing and, you know, keeping the community in mind.
So, there's something I want to know about 3 Points. It's kind of quirky. 2 things. One, I remember watching Cameron. Well, I've gone every year as press. Back to what we were talking about. You guys are very like open to having press and people come and interview artists and things like that, which is great for us as media, one. But back to the quirks. So I'm watching Cameron under like a bunch of crystals and burning sage and like 3 girls burning a bunch of sage and like crystals like twerking, like all types of like, it was insane, right? And I'm looking at Cameron and I'm seeing crystals and the sage and I'm like, what's going on? Like, and reading a little bit about like what had happened, and you guys kind of like doing the spirituality thing and the brujeria sort of nice thing and pushing the hurricane away and kind of like praying for it to go away. Like, are you guys all spiritual people, like the people that put together this the festival, like as the team? Are you guys all like, and I'm being serious, like is there some sort of like medium, like cosmic energy going on there, like some Walter Mercado, like what's like, is that really the vibe of the team for real?
There's definitely a serious focus on energy that I think is what we all have in common on the team, regardless of religious belief or whatever. We are all very, very serious about energy and curation of the right kind of energy, because I think that's really what connects everybody.
Yeah.
And I think David would tell you that, anybody on our team would tell you that, you know, it's a physical thing. Like you can feel when you're standing next to somebody or you're watching an artist, the energy, you know, it translates. Like it's a really physical thing that goes from person to person through the air. And like, you know, that's the one thing that's really, really important about what we do. And it's kind of the whole reason we do it, is to create an experience for this like massive transfer and sharing of energy between people.
Yeah.
And so whether it's crystals or sage, and you know, we have a lot of people that, you know, like different
witchy
things,
vibes.
Witchy vibes. Yeah, you know, I wish David was on for this part of the interview. But,
no, I definitely felt his vibe from the phone for sure.
but yeah, it's super important, and whatever you can do to kind of curate that and sort of, you know, keep that warmth that's there, even though we're kind of more of like an industrial urban type festival. We're not like a camping woodsy hippie kind of thing, just because of that's just what we are. You know, we're in an urban setting, we throw parties in a warehouse, that's what we do, and
but
we embrace
the people
that.
you attract,
But the people we attract and the way that we try to do it, try to really present it in a way that, you know, is, as I guess you could call it, spiritual. It's as, you know, it's done in the best way we can to sort of, you know, make that energy accessible.
Yeah, you can definitely feel it as like a festival goer, as an attendee, however you want to say it. Like the vibe that everybody's just there to have a really great time. And so another quirk that I noticed, and correct me, you know, whatever way you want, but you guys, as 3Points as a brand, tend to be or are 420 friendly. So you have events like 3 joints and like a rolling party. Is 3 joints like a rolling party where you roll for the artists that are to come and like you gift it to them? And so as people that attend the festival as well, it's 420 friendly, and that's not to be mistaken with, hey, we're here to do drugs, because I don't get that vibe at all, and I know
For
that's
sure.
not the vibe that you guys give off. But it's very 420 friendly, very like peace and love, again very spiritual. How did you guys make that decision as a brand to be 420 friendly without maybe blurring other lines of how other brands would see you? Because I know going to Coachella, when before I even walked in, there's like these barricades, and it's super intimidating, and they're searching your bra, and they're all up on you, trying to get you to get rid of everything, and it's kind of scary. It's sort of a buzzkill. But you guys, and like you guys are on a completely different level. How did you guys, you know, why did you guys choose to be like that, or why, you know, where
I
that
don't know
come
that
from?
I don't know that it was a conscious choice. I think it was always kind of just what made sense to us. I mean, I personally don't blaze, but it's something that I would say a good percentage of our core team members believe in and enjoy doing. And, you know, everybody has hobbies. They have things that work for them, that help them, you know, create, get through, you know, day-to-day life, just keep a positive attitude, whatever. You know, people go out and drink at bars. It's like, to to have any sort of like this negative energy or like misconception about smoking weed is like kind of ridiculous to us to begin with.
For the
And
bird.
just since the very beginning, it's kind of, you know, just been a part of our brand and our creative process, and we've always been proponents of letting people do what they want to do responsibly. We want to create an environment that feels safe for people, but also, you know, is free.
Relaxed,
It's
yeah,
free,
free.
and relaxed. And if that means being able to smoke weed for you, you know, we're all for it. And the 3 joints thing is definitely, you know, a push towards like, you know, the legalization and trying to really, you know, bring that up on a little bit more of a political side, but also kind of just showcase what's going on out there. And there's like, you know, a lot of medicinal marijuana stuff that's happening that's really cool and really positive. And it's just an opportunity for us to kind of expand the brand a little bit in a little bit different way and in a cool way.
Yeah.
And you
And
know,
in a new way, I think.
in a new
too.
way. And I think you'll see 3 joints kind of take off in the next couple of years. I think it's something that is a little bit under the radar still, but I think as, you know, marijuana gets more socially acceptable, even though it really is in Miami, but
Yeah.
you know, but on a political front and just socially, from a social acceptability standpoint, I think you'll see that event's going to turn into it's already a really cool thing, but it's going to turn into a bigger thing that I think a lot of people are going to come and have a great time at.
And just really quickly, can you break down what 3 joints is, like in your own words? Like, what is actual 3 joints for anyone listening?
3 joints is basically just it's been a 1-day event that we've done that has just been like a showcase of artists that we really like, that's local artists and national artists as well. Kind of stays along, you know, the fundamentals of our whole brand, but just has a little more of a focus being on 420 of, you know, what's out there. We bring in, you know, like the weed doctors that are out there, let people get, you know, their card if they want to get their card, try different foods that are out there, just showcase something, give people an opportunity to explore that world a little bit. You know, we also like to showcase artists that have historically kind of been pro weed, and this past year we did this really cool thing with RZA where he did that kind of like a live scoring of what's it called, the Shaolin Enter the 36 Chambers, the Kung Fu movie. And you know, Wu-Tang has always been big proponents of the herb movement, and so, you know, obviously we've put on Wu-Tang a handful of times. They're icons to us, and we would work with them every year if we could. So that was kind of a cool opportunity. Yeah, that's it.
Are you guys working on any Basel events or Basel parties?
We do have a couple of things going on for Basel. We're doing this show with Zoo, who's an electronic music artist. He's a little more on the EDM side of things, but he's really like a true musician, producer, and he's doing a live band version of his project, which is really, really cool. So that's going to be on the Saturday of our Basel, and then we have a couple other things that are in the works right now that aren't quite finalized, but we'll have a cool little program during our Basel this year.
Okay, awesome. And then please tell us how people can stay in touch with you guys, where they can be up to date to these Basel parties or any events coming up, even tickets, all of that.
Yeah, for sure. So 3points.com. I mean, all of our social, everything is iiiPoints, like a Roman numeral. So 3points.com is our website. 3 Points, you can find us on Instagram, on Facebook. Really, the majority of our messaging goes out on Instagram and Facebook. So, you know, you can always catch us through there. Like I said before, if you want to reach out to us directly, if you're interested in like volunteering, or you have like a project or something that you think would make sense to be put on at 3 Points, like you can hit us up directly at info@3points.com, and we try to be good about getting back to as many people as we can, and you know, really trying to make a place for anybody if they want to be a part of the project.
Are there actual 3 people to the 3 Points?
The name never corresponded with the amount of people. It
Okay.
was kind of it was David's concept to begin with. So I think initially we had this idea of music art technology.
Okay.
That sort of music art technology thing turned into a little bit of like an overused tagline in the festival world pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Over the past couple years, and you know, we also don't want to brand ourselves as something that is not necessarily 100% accurate.
Okay.
So, you know, we'd be lying if we didn't say that the majority of the focus of what we're doing is on the music, because it is. And
Yeah.
it, you know, for us, it has to be. It has to be the priority. And we will always have an amazing art program. We try to put on as many local installation-based artists and national artists that we can, and try to make the decor and everything in the festival. That's super important and important part of everything. You know, but like a tech festival, you know, there's tech festivals out there that really showcase tons of different things with booths and talkbacks and all these things, and we do a good amount of that as well, but it's just not fair of us to really kind of put those as three equal pillars. So
Yeah, that's
you know,
fair.
it's just really turned into just the name of the brand. It's 3 Points Festival. That's
Awesome.
what it is.
And it's taking place February 15th through the 17th,
Correct.
2019. Ross, thank you so much for being on Meet Them Mondays with me.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Everyone out there, thank you so much for listening to Meet Them Mondays. Make sure to tune back in on Monday, December 10th for another episode. Follow us on social media at Meet Them Mondays. I'm your host, Cristian Portilla, on IG at Run Free Rights. If you like what you hear, then subscribe on Apple Podcasts or listen on SoundCloud, Mixcloud, Stitcher, or visit runfreerights.com for more. Peace. Thank you everyone who tuned into the Facebook Live. The recording will be on runfreerights.com after. You just heard everywhere where you can listen to it. This is my guest Ross. David was on the phone. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll be back December 10th with a new episode. Thank you. Bye. John, you got that for me?
Mm-hmm.
Me lo pagas,
Yeah,
porfa.
I got it.
Thank you so much. Yo, thank you
That
so
okay?
much, Ross.
How'd I do?
You did amazing. Thank you so much.